My name is Gail Angelado, and I'm an Associate Professor of Horticulture, and I also coordinate the statewide Master Gardener program in Oregon, and I've been in this position for almost 8 years. No, students don't need any previous gardening experience to take this course, and in fact, we've had students who have not gardened a day in their life enroll in this course, and folks who have been gardening for many, many years enroll in this course, and both students were able to meet their personal goals and needs through the online Master Gardener course. Students don't need a garden of their own to take the course, but it really would be helpful if they have access to some garden sites. It may be a community garden, it could be a neighbor's garden, it could be a public park, but there are some assignments where we ask them to go out and actually access the soil and assess the quality and integrity of the soil, or to find a plant in their backyard or in a nearby site and do a little bit more research about that particular plant. So they don't need to have their own garden, but having access to some outdoor garden type site would be helpful. The course is a fairly comprehensive course in sustainable gardening. We cover basic botany, soils, how to compost, soil nutrients and fertilizers. We go over both herbaceous and woody plants, as well as plant pests such as insects and plant pathogens. So a woody plant is something like a tree or a shrub that has a woody stem, and an herbaceous plant is something which isn't as thick and strong. A lot of these would be our annual plants, such as the zinnias or marigolds that you would have as bedding plants. The course lasts a total of about 12-13 weeks, including the time for the final exam. Every week a new module will open. So one week you'll be focused on basic botany, the next week you'll be focused on entomology, another week you'll be focused on vegetable gardening. And in each of those modules, students will have a lecture that they'll be asked to view, they'll have a required reading, they'll also have a quiz so that they can assess their own knowledge, and they will have an assignment where they can apply the principles that they've learned in that module in the real world, in their own garden or in a nearby gardening site. So there's a fair amount of opportunity for students to interact with each other on the discussion boards. They can also interact with me on the discussion boards. Every assignment that is submitted, so for example, students are asked to come up with a plan for their vegetable garden, or students are asked to assess the sustainability of their own garden or a nearby gardening site. All of the assignments that they submit are read individually by me, and I give feedback on those things that are really good and those things that might need a little bit of improvement. They also get immediate feedback when they take the quiz so that they can see how many of the concepts in that week's module they were actually able to retain and understand. So since the course is online, they're going to need regular access to a computer and the internet, both to access the course materials, but also to do additional research for their assignments and their quizzes as needed. For some of the assignments, it might be handy to have a little trowel and maybe some glass jars. Those are the basic materials needed to assess the texture of your soil. There are also required readings that are posted online so that they don't need to buy the sustainable gardening textbook that we use to teach the Master Gardener course. But if they did want to have a hard copy of the entire textbook for themselves, it may be helpful to purchase that text. The information for where to purchase the text can be found within the course itself. The Sustainable Gardening Handbook is sold through OSU Extension, through their Extension catalog, so it's freely accessible to anyone who might want to access and purchase that handbook, and I believe that the cost is currently $35. The assignments for this course, I've really made an effort to make them a way to apply the concepts that they've learned through viewing the lectures and doing the reading. So in the first assignment, they're asked to find a plant that they know very little about, to identify the plant and to do a little bit of research about the cultural care requirements for keeping that plant healthy and vigorous in the landscape. In the second week, when we go over soils, they're asked to go out and actually test the texture of their garden soils, and then once they have knowledge about what type of soil they have, They're asked to talk about the opportunities and the difficulties that particular soil type might present for their gardening approach. We also asked them to come up with a gardening plan, a vegetable gardening plan. We asked them to design a pollinator garden, which will be effective at attracting pollinators throughout the year and attracting a variety of pollinators. They're asked to assess the sustainability of their landscape and to identify those areas where there might be opportunities to improve sustainability. So all of the assignments, we try to make them so that folks are going out into their own backyard and applying what they've learned close to home. So this is a non-credit course, so it's important to understand that the quizzes and the assignments, those are really for the student's own benefit. They get a grade for each quiz and they get a grade for each assignment, they get feedback, but they don't count towards the final grade, if you will. The only thing that they need to do in order to pass this course is they need to pass the comprehensive final exam, which is an open book exam with a grade of 70% or greater. And I found through experience that students who keep up with the coursework, who are able to keep on top of all of the modules, that they have no problem passing the course. It's really only when students fall behind or don't take advantage of the coursework throughout the term that they struggle to pass the final. So if you have a question in the course, I really encourage folks to post those questions on the discussion board, because you can be sure if you have a question, somebody else probably has the same question, so it will be useful for everyone to see the answer. But folks are also welcome to contact me via email or by giving me a call on the phone, or if you're local, stopping by and having a chat. This course is really designed for anyone who has an interest in home or community gardening. It can be a beginning gardener, a gardener with quite a bit of experience, somebody who is interested in starting a school garden or being a bigger contributor to community garden efforts. It's a broad-based and comprehensive introduction to sustainable gardening, all facets of sustainable gardening, and would be of broad interest to many home and community gardeners. So taking the course is not enough in and of itself to become a master gardener. The term master gardener really is synonymous with the term volunteer. So taking the course is one of the first steps you need to complete in order to become a master gardener. If you do pass the final exam with a score of 70% or greater, then you're cleared to go on and continue your volunteer internship practicum in your local county through your local extension office. So after you complete the final exam, you would then go on to complete your volunteer service practicum. Usually it's between 40 and 70 hours. The specific requirements vary by county. And after you've completed the course, passed the final, and completed your volunteer service practicum, then you are certified as a master gardener. So if you are taking the course to become a certified master gardener, then we work to connect you with your local extension office at the beginning of the course, but you're welcome to contact your local extension office at any time. They really are there to serve the public, and information for the contact information for your local county extension office can be found online on the OSU Extension website. So part of my position at OSU is I'm an associate professor in horticulture, and a major requirement of my job is that I do applied research in my field. So I do a lot of research on best practices in sustainability, the impacts of gardens and green space on childhood health, adult health. I also do a fair amount of research. My major focus is really understanding how to better develop and manage gardens and green spaces so that we can promote the conservation of bees and the ecosystem services that they give us all. So as part of my research requirement, I'm constantly reading the primary literature, going to conferences, talking to other experts in the field to make sure that I'm up to date in the latest practices in sustainable gardening. Now, how do I suggest that other folks stay up to date? I really do have to say that working with their local Master Gardener program is a fantastic way to make sure that you have the latest and the best research-based information on sustainable gardening. It really is our major focus to make sure that we're giving reliable, relevant, and research-based information to the general public. We offer a variety of community classes throughout the year to try to get that information out to all. So really just by connecting with your local Master Gardener program, taking part in the brown bag talks that they may give, attending the conferences and seminars that they offer to the general public is a fantastic way to stay up to date. And of course, reading the resources that are posted on the OSU Extension website and in their catalog. A sustainable garden, we define it as one that meets a gardener's personal needs, whether it's an aesthetic, ornamental need, or whether it's vegetable production, so that you're able to meet current needs without using resources in a way that would compromise those resources for future generations. So making sure that you're using water wisely, or that you're not degrading soil, or that if you have to use chemistry such as synthetic fertilizers and pesticides, that you do so in a way which is really judicious and limits the impact of those chemistries on the surrounding environment. So the Pacific Northwest is a fantastic place to garden. In Western Oregon, the joke is that you can pretty much throw anything in the ground and it will grow. Oregon is really known as a green, verdant state, and that's because our Mediterranean type climate, at least in Western Oregon, makes it very easy for a lot of things to grow. It also makes it very easy for plant pathogens to prosper. So one of the major issues in Western Oregon are a lot of the diseases that attack plants. So that's one of our challenges, even though we have a lot of opportunities that aren't available to folks in other areas of the country. Now in Eastern Oregon and in Central Oregon, where they have very dry climate, very short growing seasons, they don't have an issue with plant pathogens, but they really just have an issue with enough warm days to get things to grow so that you can harvest vegetables from a vegetable garden, for instance. I really do believe that given current issues surrounding water use and water becoming an increasingly scarce resource, not just in the Western United States, but across the United States, that in order to become more sustainable and in order to promote sustainable gardening, one of our major focuses is going to have to be how to garden while really being conscious and conservative with our use of water.